Good morning to everyone. We welcome you this beautiful Lord's Day morning, to Grace Community Church. And normally we would begin singing right away, but this is a bit of a special day, and I want you to be able to enjoy the celebration as a congregation, so I want to give you a little bit of information. You may have heard that this past week, the state of California, the county, the city, the health department, entered into a settlement with our attorneys, and that case is completely settled as of now. You can read about it in the Grace today, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of a rundown on some of the milestones over the last year or so. It was last July 23rd, 2020, when we wrote an article called Christ, Not Caesar, is the head of the church. That was our declaration that we would follow Jesus Christ, and where the government told us to do something he told us not to do, or the government told us not to do something he commanded us to do, we would follow Christ. And that's the document, that Christ, not Caesar, is head of the church. So August 12th of 2020, Grace Community Church filed a lawsuit against Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti and the others who we felt were involved in this, the county and the health department as well. And what we alleged in that lawsuit was that health orders and actions violated the California Constitution's guarantee of free exercise of religion, as well as the United States Constitution, that it disallowed us to have liberties that the Constitution gave us, to have liberty, substantive due process, freedom of speech, equal protection under the law, and separation of powers. We didn't do that to be rebellious, we did it to be obedient. And I've said this a few times, our obedience is to Christ. We understand the sphere of government, and in government's sphere we submit gladly and happily as a part of our duty to God. But when government steps in and tries to tell the church what to do, it has overstepped its bounds, and that's why we took the stand that we took. August 14th, 2 days later, the LA County Health Department filed a lawsuit against Grace for violating the health orders, and they called us a public nuisance and requested injunction for Grace not to meet as a church, even outside, inside or outside. The County of Los Angeles requested that the pastor and church be held in contempt of court. They sent us a cease and desist letter threatening daily fines of $1,000, threatening to arrest me and other leaders for violating the order. Nevertheless, we violated the order because we were committed to be obedient to the Lord, and of all times, this particular time made the church even more essential and more critical. September 10, 2020, a judge approved the preliminary injunction against Grace Church and barred us from conducting worship services unless we fully complied with all the county health orders, which collectively would make any meeting utterly impossible. At the time, I pointed that out to you. Then that subsequently led to as many as 12 hearings, which kept being postponed. And the Lord was very kind to us. He gave us some amazing, amazing lawyers. Jenna Ellis, Paul, Jonah, and Charles Lamandry. Jenna and Paul are here this morning. We need to say thank you to you. Thank you. I don't think that's ever happened at a sermon, do you? Now, we're deeply grateful. I think you caught that. That was spontaneous affection and gratitude. And Thomas More Society, who incurred all the costs, and Grace Church incurred none, we owe them a great deal of thanks. Over this period of time, the church kept meeting, and the county could never trace any kind of outbreak of COVID to us, and the Lord protected us. We also knew the statistics of COVID. We've given those to you as time has gone on. Over the same period of time since then to this day, we've received, I think, nearly 800 new members. So this has been a great strategy for church growth. And for all of you who have come during this period of time, we give you a very special welcome. Now, the lawsuit resolution, just a few things that I can point out. All charges and all injunctions against Grace Community Church were dropped. Thus, the county did not have the right to force us to limit capacity, meet outside, mandate masks, because they allowed other organizations and businesses to function without those restraints. They couldn't do it to us. Secondly, our lease with the county for the Wash parking lot was fully restored. Thus, the county revoked our lease vindictively, since for 45 years we had no other issues with the lease. We now have the lease back. We're thankful for that. Thirdly, the county and state were both ordered to pay $400,000 in legal fees to the Thomas More Society, recoup their costs. And the county and the state, I don't know where it all divided up, but they had to pay $1 million for their own attorneys plus $800,000 for ours. This indicated that not only the counties, but even the governor's regulations were unconstitutional, and that they are at fault for having this lawsuit at all. Most remarkably, in the case of the majority of lawsuits, every party pays their own legal fees, but in this case, for the state and county to cover the costs of both attorneys is a clear recognition that they knew they couldn't prevail against us. They didn't want to go to court, and they settled out of court. Precedent established in the case, the state cannot constrain churches by regulations that are harsher than those imposed on other businesses. Churches are just as essential as anything else. And in the opinion of our lawyers, the settlement is nothing less than a total victory and complete vindication of our position. And we don't take the credit, right? We thank the Lord. We give him all the praise. People have asked me about courage. I get that question quite a bit. You seem to have a lot of courage. It's really not about courage. It's really faith. I trust that if we obey the Lord, he'll honor us. And it may be that he might have wanted me to go to jail. That would have been fine. He would have found some way to honor me in a new jail ministry, which I'd be happy to undertake. But we do know this, that God honors faithfulness, and we have trusted him in this and said, we put ourselves in your hand. Whatever outcome you desire for us, we're happy to face. And God was gracious to us and allowed our church not only to meet, but to meet without undue illness, and to meet and grow and flourish in ways that we've never seen in the history of this church. So you may have thought that this was meant for evil, but in the end, as Genesis 50 says, God meant it for good.